Hello, my name is Michael Timmons. I am the author of the Lycan War Saga and the Shards of the Covenant series, which both first books of those series are available currently on Amazon for free. You can download them and start each of the series starting with the first book. It says the ebook is free for download as of today. I will put the links down below in the comments so that you can click on them and download them. I would really appreciate it. I'd love for you guys to read them and get started on the series. Like I said, the first one, The Awakening Part 1, that's the first book of the Lycan War Saga, and also Prelude to the Shards, which is the first book to the Shards of the Covenant series, are available on Amazon for free for download. So, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be discussing the episode 6 of the Wheel of Time, The Flame of Tar Valon. Now this will be a spoiler chat. We will be discussing the entire episode, previous episodes, future episodes. We will also be discussing all of the books up until Memory of Light. So that's your warning. So if you don't want any spoilers for the series, for the books, then come back when you've read them all. And when you've watched it all. So, as I have done in previous videos, basically I am going to be discussing what I feel that the show has done right, what I feel the show has done wrong in the series so far, where I think that they may have made choices that may affect future storytelling as it steps away from the book. I'm not a book purist by any means. However, I want to have some logic and reasoning behind the changes. Sometimes I feel that they've made changes that at least for me, I can't figure out why they have done it. As I said, maybe there's a reason that I'm just not aware of, something that's beyond my purvey. I don't know. But, like I said, I get time restraints, I get money issues, I get those things. I understand. It's a TV show. They have to work with what they got. Totally get that. Totally understandable, and I'm okay with that. I get that they made changes for those reasons, but then like I said, there are some changes that I just don't get. That being said, did enjoy the series. I would probably say maybe episode 5 actually, no, I think episode 7 is actually my favorite one, but we'll get to that when we get to episode 7. But that and episode 3. I really liked episode 3. I know episode 4 is a favorite for a lot of people, but for me, while it was a good episode with good acting and such, there was just a lot of issues I had with it that made it less enjoyable for me. But be that as it may. Let's start with episode 6. Now, episode 6 is, like I said, it's called The Flame of Tar Valon. It deals almost exclusively with Moraine and what happens with her within the White Tower. Although, however, the episode does start off with Swan, young Swan Sanche, with her father. It's a nice little scene. Basically, it shows her when she's young. She's on the river outside the tier. What's interesting is though she already has the tattoos that you see her later on having when she's adult, which I think she's like 6 or 7 in this. So I don't know if that's something that I don't even know. Maybe they're born with those, or they just give them. Well, I guess she's not 7. She's about 10 or 11 in this one. So, but I mean, when do they do these tattoos?
Something for their breakfast. For some of her bastard does.
Yeah, so it has a nice little thing. Obviously, you see that she does come from. She's not rich. Stretch imagination. Her home is very like simple and such. So obviously she's like as we all know, Swan. She's a fisher. She's a fisher person. She you know, she grew up fishing with her father on the river. So we see that. We do see the Stone of Tear in the background. We see that her dad has he's missing a hand, so he definitely has difficulty fishing, and Swan uses the one power to like tie knots, which may be a little bit of foreshadowing to show how she learns how to do tying off shields and such, or tying off weaves, which we find out later on.
Nobody saw.
Just the two of us. Last night in the village, that's all. The wisest woman knows the breaking point of her line. Don't push yours.
And you get the impression, obviously, that that she's in an area that doesn't look kindly on being able to use the one power, which we know she's in tears, so that's understandable. And then when they return, you see that their house has been burned down, and the dragon fang has been scrawled on the door. So the father decides to send her to Tarvalon to keep her safe. So
When you get the caption right, can I come home?
Yeah.
Come with me, Mama. Searching every night.
it's a very sweet moment where her father basically says, this will keep you safe. You're not safe here. You need to go to Tarvalon. Even knowing that he is going to have a difficult time fishing, because like I said, he only has one hand. So
Strong.
he says this little thing to her about being clever as a little pike, and just, just this nice little thing that he adds. Little thing he clearly says to her all the time, which will be important later on between as Moraine and Swan have a nice interaction. From there, we get introduced to the Amerlin suite. Now, nothing to say about negative about the Amerlin suite. She, the lady that plays her is obviously a very good actress. She's not who I would have thought she would have been. Clearly does not match the description in books, which is fine. Like I said, obviously they made changes for that, but I don't know. I just Sophia Okanada, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Just not who I would have thought of as someone from the Amerlin State. That's just my opinion. Like I said, she's a great actress. Don't get me wrong. At basically right now we have all the Aes Sedai that were in the party that captured Logain, being brought before the Amerlin Seat to basically receive judgment because of the fact that they gentled Logain without bringing him to the White Tower, which was the command that the Amerlin Seat had given them. They weren't supposed to do that.
Bring the fourth dragon.
So they bring Logain before
Why is this man changed?
before the Amerlin, and
Gentle as he is, he poses no threat.
so they release it
No
from
gain or blood.
being chained,
Do you know
and
why you're here?
Logain kind of tries to taunt Sophie or Swan. Basically,
No one would follow. And he'll be friends suggestively. And
kind of just, like I say, he taunts her.
And that I still staked that green beach to the wall.
And clearly he's doing this because he wants to get her angry. He wants to get the Aes Sedai angry because he doesn't want to go on living, as we know. He's been gentle.
Whatever they say, if it's the release of death you seek, as an example,
That, you know, basically he just wants her to kill him because he wants to die. But then we see him break down and he's, you know, pleading to be killed because, you know, his attempt to anger her just didn't work. She's like, you know, you're gonna live for a long time as a reminder to what happens when men who tried to be the false dragon.
allow Moraine approach.
Now we have this moment where, like I said, they're basically Leandrin, Alana, and Moraine are
The rest of you depart now, Moraine.
to be judged as leaders of the basically as of the groups that group that brought Logain, and really the main ones that are
That
responsible
man deserved a fair trial before me.
of gentling.
Fulfill justice.
And
He had no choice, Mother. He was the most powerful man I've ever seen. He's
basically
lucky to be alive.
You took the short many years ago, Leandrin. Have you forgotten your training? Shield first, gentle second, kill, last of all.
But you didn't see what he did to her.
we see that Leandrin is, you know, clearly upset
I beg the Amulet's clemency.
and asking for clemency.
Moraine died to protect us because she knew that the false dragon,
You know, basically saying that, you know,
Leandrin made the right choice.
Alana says that I think Leandrin made the right choice, which really surprises the blue that the green would stand with the red, leaving Moraine.
If we hadn't tamed him, Mother, all of our sisters would have been killed. Not just Moraine.
Moraine basically,
Our laws don't exist to protect our lives, our comforts. They exist.
really, it's kind of, you know, basically they say like, you know, hey, if we had not done what we had done, you know, more of us would have died. Swan basically says, you know, hey, our laws don't exist, for, you know, save our, you know, for our lives or, you know, our convenience. I'm sorry, exactly what she says. I'm sorry, I just read.
Our laws
She says our laws don't exist
to
protect our lives and our comforts, but the fact still remains. They're explaining it is basically like Logain, if they had not done what they had done, would have killed them. You know, and she's saying, well, you know, it doesn't matter. That's not the law says, is that he was supposed to be brought here. But that doesn't make any sense, because if Logain had killed them, he would have gotten free, raised his army again, and killed a bunch of people. And so,
our comforts.
you know,
They exist to protect our people from us.
you know, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
When Moraine fell, you were in command. The fault lies with you, as will the punishment. And you think on your penance. You have something more to say, daughter?
And,
I'm just surprised.
you know, he basically,
You don't care about the girl. But when we found Moraine, she was traveling with the most powerful channel that we've seen in 1,000 years.
And-
And yet Moraine said nothing of the girl's skills. We knew nothing. Until Nynaeve Almira healed us of our wounds.
I was unaware she could just...
Sorry, what did you say?
I was unaware that she could channel.
You must have known she was more than a simple village girl. You must have known.
so Leandrin just like basically brings up the fact that you know, that she knew that Nynaeve was there, and that she could channel, that she was super powerful, and that Moraine
Has flitted
said nothing.
back and forth to the tower for 20 years.
And
Her purpose, the purpose of all blues, is to gather secrets and discover danger before it strikes at the heart of us, before it strikes at you, Mother.
And so Leandrin basically throws Moraine
And Logan's army swells
under the bus,
without even a warning from Moraine.
and they're basically blaming Moraine for not giving us, any warning.
Well, I suggest you ask her, Mother.
This is blue business, Mother. Not my scrutiny in this hall.
All business is judged here, Megan. Unless you're suggesting the Annalyn does not wish to question Moraine because Mother was once blue herself.
Leandrin suggests oh well, maybe Swan doesn't want to do it because she was once blue herself, which of course we know as a reader that basically that doesn't matter because Amaryllis Seat is of no Aja now, so she's no longer blue. She's the Amaryllis Seat, and to suggest otherwise is kind of pushing it really. So
Moraine Cigar.
Swan basically is kind of forced to ask Swan or ask Moraine.
2 years ago. Where have you traveled?
From Tyr to the Two Rivers.
In many towns between. What is the purpose of your travel?
And now Swan's got to ask Moraine,
Forgive me, Mother, I can't say.
and Moraine obviously cannot say. Being forced to ask them, right? And of course she can't
On your knee.
answer at all because they can't let anybody know that she's been to search for the Dragon Reborn.
What is the purpose?
She's forced to ask her because Leandrin forced her hand, which is really good maneuvering by Leandrin. Moraine cannot say.
I cannot say.
You dare to challenge me.
Yeah.
Perhaps it is your noble blood. It seems you do as you please. But I am the Crown Queen. Remember that well while you are here. Remember.
And Swan's basically
Depart now in the light.
Obviously, well, you still can.
What good would that do me?
Don't be stubborn.
they leave the hall of the tower, and Moraine goes out to speak to Leandrin.
Did you expect me to thank you for saying what you did?
And
That, like everything else you did, was for your own benefit. You forget.
and Leandrin's basically and then once again we get this hint that
Whatever it is you're up to,
a hint
you
that
should accomplish it quickly.
a hint about Leandrin and Moraine's relationship, then we go to a scene where we see Moraine drinking tea outside. Basically, she's at an inn somewhere where she clearly sees. She's clearly aware of where Nynaeve and Rand and everybody is. So
Wasn't expected.
clearly they know that something's going on. They know that something's wrong with Matt. And so Rain and Lan go to see,
Go downstairs.
and
Do not come up, no matter what you hear.
she basically says, tells Basil Gill, yep, that was Basil Gill, go downstairs, no matter what you hear, don't come back upstairs. She goes to the room that Rand and Matt are staying at, which of course she just walks in,
Like I'm ready, did you?
and Rand sees that it's Moraine.
Your knife. It's nice to see you too. Gawain, Perrin, over here.
I have watches. I'll know when they arrive.
And he obviously asks about
How long has he been like this?
Egwene and Perrin. She says, well, I'll know when they'll arrive. At this moment, we don't know if she knows where they are.
It's just a fever.
And clearly at this point, Rand thinks that
I'm not going to let you hurt him.
Rand draws a sword on Lan, and or actually Lan and Moraine, because she thinks that Moraine is going to take Matt, because they all believe that Matt can channel. And of course, Lan basically.
Matt, tell her! He hasn't channeled! The world doesn't need a dragon like me.
Of course, Lan puts Rand down really quick, and Rand's like, he hasn't channeled. You mean just Matt? Tell her he hasn't channeled. And then that is when Matt pulls the dagger on Moraine, and she uses the one power to take the dagger from him, which is
You took this from Shadow Lagoon.
she's like, you stupid boy, and she uses the one power to extract the taint from the, tries to get into Moraine's mouth, which it's kind of cool. Basically, the whole thing's really cool. Rand and Lan are holding Matt down. It seems pretty cool. They did a really good job of showing how she removes the taint and basically puts it back into the dagger. It was a little theatrical, the way she kind of does the whole one power thing. All the channeling is a little bit theatrical. And Lan basically covers the dagger up. And Matt is... then Rand realizes what really happened, what's really going on. You can see how much, like, the whole channeling of getting the poison out, how much it affected him.
Thank you.
For what?
And then Rand thanks.
What did you expect me to do?
Rand thanks Moraine for helping Matt. And, Moraine's like, what did you expect me to do? It's like, you could clearly,
I would do it for any of you.
clearly she's like exasperated because, he keeps questioning her motives and that.
You could just say you're welcome. So the fact can't channel. And he's not there. It's just the darkness from the Shadow City all along.
I don't know. He's stronger than he has any right to. If you weren't, that dagger would have consumed him weeks ago.
And she basically says that, she doesn't know if he's what it is, if he isn't, or if he isn't the Dragon Reborn.
I've healed him of his connection to the dagger, but it was feeding off the darkness in him as much as he was of it.
But basically she says, he's stronger than he should be.
He may be lost.
And that basically if he touches the dagger again,
Of course, Nynaeve. Doctor, how did you find them? A better question might be, why didn't you find me as soon as you saw the darkness in that?
and then
Your pride would have...
Nynaeve's like, of course you found me here, and basically acting like Moraine was the bad person for finding Nynaeve, and Moraine's like, actually the better question is why didn't you tell me? I could have helped Matt. Your pride could have killed Matt. You don't trust me, and
Wisdom is the title you claim. I suggest you start using some.
she gives a nice little line like, if wisdom is the title you claim, I suggest you start using some. Then we have a little bath scene in Tarvalon. This is kind of just laying the groundwork later on, but here we have Moraine taking a bath, and then Magdan comes in and basically is like,
I wish you'd take meetings in the tower like the rest of us. I've been on the road for years, Megan. Don't begrudge me this. My time is limited. I don't enjoy wasting it imagining your fate after that display in the hall.
basically
Joanne's losing her grip.
basically challenge.
Oh, a green spoke on behalf of a red today, and so did you.
Points out the fact that, hey, the Green spoke on behalf of the Red, and that's just not heard of, and then also Moraine did, and that the world's gone mad. This is where she mentions that ships have been going missing off the coast, and that Aiel have been spotted at the side of the world. So it's kind of nice little, Trollocs invaded the True Rivers. And she basically knows, clearly showing that, and basically showing that the Blues are still keeping tabs of Moraine to some extent. They don't know what she's doing, but they know, they know that she's, what she's doing.
Exactly what you're doing out in the wilderness. Action and loyalty. Old alliances are shifting, and we must present you here in the tower permanently. For what reason? Well, I may need to go west to track the ship's disappearances.
And Magna talks about that she was going to travel west, which I think obviously that kind of lays the groundwork. We're going to see Magna being captured by the Sanchen in season 2. Definitely she's going to be one of the Aes Sedai that's caught, so otherwise I wouldn't be laying this groundwork. So it's clearly like hint, hint, nudge, nudge. And Magdan basically says like, hey, you need to stay
More secrets?
here.
How long do you think I've been here? Only a day.
And I did not notice that before. There's a lot of things, honestly, if you don't watch it more than once, it's kind of like you don't piece together. Just like the books. Like there's a lot of things in the book. It's very similar to the books that way, where there's things that happen that you just really, you don't notice until you rewatch it or reread it. But basically, Magdan basically says, hey, Moraine, you got to stay in Tower of Alon. You can't leave anymore. I got to go west. Just stay. And obviously, Moraine's like, I can't. I have to continue my quest. I can't stay here. But she doesn't say that. And then she moves a towel, and you see a little twig that has yellow buds on it. Clearly, she has a messenger from her eyes and ears in the Yellow Aja. And she goes, and we find Egwene and Perrin. And the Yells are obviously helping Perrin. Now, Egwene asks Moraine about Ren and Mat, and Moraine, not lying, but not telling the truth, says she has people on watch for their arrival, which is true. Although, I doubt she still has people on watch for their arrival because they're already here. So, it's kind of pushing the limits of actually skirting the truth. But she said you have a gun authority that they're alive. Yep, obviously, because you already met them.
My sister said you were taken with license.
Yeah.
I took something from you.
And that they were taken by the White Cloaks, and Egwene returns the rings to Moraine, which is a really nice gesture on her, but really good that she took it from her. And it clearly means a lot. She thinks that Valda is dead, but we know that Valda's not dead.
There are no greater healers on earth than the Aes Sedai, the Yellow Aja.
And then we find out about the Yellow Aja, saying that, there's no greater healers.
On the outside, in the end, they went gold. Like a wolf.
And Egwene tells Moraine that basically when Valda was torturing Perrin, that his eyes turned golden like a wolf's, and that anything else unusual happened. Wolves attacked the Light Cloaks. And
See the dragon?
Moraine basically tells Egwene, don't tell anybody else.
There's much we don't know about the Dragon Reborn. What shape she or he will take, what power they will
have. Egwene's like, well, is he the dragon? Does that mean he's the dragon? And Moraine says, there's not much we know about the dragon. What shape he or she will take, and, what powers he will have, which I guess they're going with the unreliable narrative here, really leaning on the fact that these prophecies and these histories are 3,000 years old, and they really don't know. But, they kind of do. They know he's going to be a channeler, so they know he's going to be able to touch the one power. Why would they think that he's also can talk to wolves? And I don't know. I get it. They're trying to add to the mystery of it all, but it just it doesn't really make sense. Even an unreliable narrator, would have misinformation, but the misinformation would be something that would make more sense than this possibility. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. And so then Moraine basically now we see Moraine getting ready for bed. Lan comes in and it's like, hey, you messed your bond, which we find that's our first finding out that that's actually a possibility.
It's been at least 2 years. I thought you'd welcome the break.
This place isn't as safe as it was.
Yeah.
No one's watching you.
So we find out that we get the impression,
If you're worried,
and Lan basically warns her, you're not safe.
We're protecting our friends from the two of us.
But
We're fine.
Get back before.
Is that an order?
Did it sound like a suggestion? I'll stand watch until you return. Give him my love.
So we basically, Lan clearly knows what she's going to go do. We get to see the picture we saw from, I don't know what episode it was. I guess it would have been last episode, episode 5. We see Moraine use the one power on it, and clearly it's some sort of Terran Angreal opens a portal, and Moraine is brought to a room with Swan.
What were you thinking? I'm on a knife's edge here, and that display you forced me to put on to make everything we're trying to do much up. Don't smile. Just give me a sign if you don't take idiotic risks.
And she uses her little turn of phrase of our little fishing turn of phrases, and we all know Swan for. And Moraine's like, hey, forgive me, mother. And Swan's like, I hate it when you call me that. But it really you can really see the emotion that they are sharing, that the feelings that they have for each other. It's, the fact that she's been away for 2 years and they haven't seen each other, you really get that feeling that they really miss each other. But obviously there's politics going on, and here is a part where I'm going to make a little guess as to what actually is going to happen as we move into this series. Obviously, for those of us who have read the books, we know that Swan, after she is after she is stilled and kicked out or escapes from the tower, that she finds Gareth Bryn and they fall in love, and we have that whole thing, and eventually, obviously, they both die in memory of light. Moraine, who is going to go through the door trying to kill Lanfear, which will probably be at season 3. We know that Matt, Tom, and Jade Firestarter rescue her later from the tower of the Elfin, I'm not sure. I don't remember which one. And we come to find out that Moraine and Tom are in love, and then they get married. Now, Swan and Gareth Bryn makes a little bit more sense. They have a growing affection for each other, and that turns into love. That's kind of done well in the books. Moraine's and Tom's relationship feelings really kind of comes out of nowhere, and I think is universally panned by most people who read the books, because it doesn't really make any sense. Just like I said, it shows up out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, I love this man, and he loves me, and we're gonna get married. It doesn't make any sense. So, my prediction is they are going to drop the Tom and Moraine relationship completely. That's not going to happen. Instead, Moraine and Swan will be reunited near the end. I think they're going to drop Swan and Gareth Bryn's relationship completely as well. I think they're playing too much into their relationship, which obviously doesn't play much in the books. It's spoken about in New Spring, and not really fleshed out, but it's discussed, their relationship. But clearly that's changed because Moraine's been gone for so many years, and they had to basically choose to not be together because they needed to find the Dragon Reborn. They couldn't do it by working together. Whatever. As we know in the books. So, my prediction though is they're going to drop those two relationships, and we will see a reunion between Swan and Moraine, which we don't see in the books because obviously the books really don't deal with that relationship at all. But like I said, they're putting too much emotion into this relationship right now for it not to pay off later on. So I really do think that they will have a reunion of sorts if the show continues on the way, if it actually makes it to 7th and 8th season or whatever. We will see a reunion of sorts. That's my prediction. So, like we see, just like basically,
The girlfriend's too good. And how can we discount her?
and they basically start discussing the Dragon Reborn after they have their little, fun time.
Still Breaker says, well,
Our prophecies are clear.
they're 3,000-year-old prophecies. They've been translated again and again by hundreds of different eyes today.
So here, this is where they broach the idea that basically these prophecies are 3,000 years old. They've been retold, by countless Aes Sedai. So how well can we really trust them? And I think they're really going to play into that as the prophecy being the unreliable narrator in the series. That we have this prophecy, but we don't know. That's what they're kind of doing with the whole, the dragon could be a boy, it could be a girl. It's because their prophecy doesn't say. And, because their prophecy, which is weird because they clearly blame men completely for what had the breaking, even though that's not entirely accurate. So you think that they would lay that on, that the dragon would most likely be a man, and also the way that Saidin and Saidar work, and it's the male half of the source that's tainted, and that's what drives the men mad. That just would make, I don't know. just doesn't make sense. Even if the prophecy can't be trusted, there's no reason to think that it, even for a moment, that the prophecy would imply that it might be a female Chandler, because none of the circumstances that would cause a female Chandler to destroy the world, that it would just only the taint would cause that, and so it just doesn't make any sense to me.
From a dream, I heard the tale of a many-headed dragon. The last dragon was one man. Why would the wheels bid the dragon so long?
And it implies that that basically maybe there are multiple dragons, which I don't like. I don't think they're going to do that. I hope not. I hope they don't decide to change that.
You were there.
You were there when she had the vision of the baby being born. We were the only ones.
We've been searching for the Dragon Reborn for 20 years. I
And-
know less now than I did then.
They bring up Katara again, about basically that she said that the baby was born. They also, let you know that basically what they're doing is risky, and they risk the chance of being stilled.
We'll join you.
And this is also where
Spent a few months ago.
we find out about the Eye of the World. Swan says that she's been having dreams about the Eye of the World, and
Advantage, we know where he is. We don't know which one of them is the dragon. Take them all. We'd be sentencing the other four to certain death. Maybe, maybe not. Whoever comes between the dragon.
and they basically, hey, we need to go to the Eye. Swan's basically, hey, we need to go to the Eye of the World. It's the only way we can stop the Dark One. And Swan's like, if we take him, we don't know which one's the dragon. Swan's like, take them all. Moraine's like, if I take them all, then a bunch of them are gonna die. Nobody's gonna survive the confrontation with the Dark One. So I think that right now, Swan is receiving dreams from Ishmael. He's playing with her to basically get them to go to the Eye of the World, because as we see in the final episode, that Ishmael basically uses Rand to either set him free from the Eye of the World completely, or other Forsaken, or basically he uses Rand to break one of the seals, and that basically was the whole time manipulating, which is such an Ishmael to do. And basically, but Moraine's like, you know what? They're forcing. Magna's gonna force me to stay in Tarvalon, and Swan's like, you can't. You got things to do, and Moraine's like, yeah. So you're gonna have to banish me.
I put him in your bedroom.
And that?
Covered enough to be drowning himself in morning ale.
Can you ride?
Matt Coulson. Is that his name, yes?
Same boy you visited at the Light's Blessing, yes.
So Leandrin
Strange how he and his companion, Ran, are also from the Two Rivers.
basically come in,
One
and
of the two strangers no spectre house by her younger sisters.
Leandrin clearly has been keeping an eye on Moraine.
I'm sure the Amelie would love to understand that connection.
I know about the map.
And basically Leandrin's like, hey, I know about Matt, I know about Rand, Perrin, and Egwene. Clearly there's something going on here that you're not telling us, Moraine, and maybe the Amelin Seed would like to know. Maybe I should go tell the Amelin Seed. And Moraine's like, hey, I know about the man you've been meeting in North Harbor. Walk away. Walk away.
Wait, never mention this again.
And
I will tell your red sisters where he lives. We both know what they'll do.
And basically, she says, I'll tell the Red Sisters where he lives, and both know what they'll do to him. Now, I didn't remember this exactly. I don't know if this is implying that, that the Red Sisters disapprove of men so much, and their sisters being with men so much, that they will do something to this guy because Leandrin is meeting with him. Or if Moraine knows that the man can channel, or does she know that he's a dark friend? I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing that she says, because she basically says that the Red Sisters will do something to him. But why would the Red Sisters do something to him if he's just a guy that she's meeting? I don't understand that. So unless there's something special about him, like one, he can channel, or two, he's a dark friend, you know, the Red Sisters would have no need to do anything with him. So I kind of missed that in the first part. Like I saw this exchange, and I liked the fact that she was like, you know, hey, walk away, don't mention this again, otherwise I'll start telling about your secrets. But I missed this part where she says, you know, that the Red Sisters will do something to him, which implies a lot more than is said here. And you can see how upset Leandrin is about that whole thing.
Glory to the builders. You honor. I am Moraine
Loyal, son of art.
And Moraine meets with Loyal, and
You must forgive the abruptness of my message.
I will say I was surprised to receive it, and the haste of which I was encouraged to respond, even for a human.
It is a failing of our kind, I do admit.
and
The wheel has presented us with a crisis, and at the same time, perhaps,
so we find out that basically, you know, she meets with Loyal, which we know is basically to convince him to take them to the ways.
I wore exactly the same expression when I first saw this room.
So then we have Moraine taking Egwene to the ambulance, the Hall of Tower, and Egwene gets reunited with Nynaeve, because obviously, as we know before, that Egwene believes that Nynaeve has been killed. So they go to the ambulance seats, bringing Nynaeve and Egwene in. And of course, as we know, we also get to see that there's a nice little picture. We get to see the same picture that Moraine has in her room. It's on the wall back here.
Welcome to the White Tower.
And
I'm the ambulance seat. But today, we will go east to work.
so they're, you know, basically Egwene and Nynaeve meet. Nynaeve, of course, clearly is
What were you expecting?
not really.
I'm told you're the most powerful channeler we've seen in 1,000 years.
And, you know, she starts off by saying, you know, I've been told you're the most powerful channel we've seen in 1,000 years, and we see Egwene just light up. And then,
Then you must have very low standards.
then basically says that, you know, Nynaeve, I'm there, and you can see Egwene's like, what? You know, like, she was not expecting that.
Egwene, Alvir,
And you're right.
your bravery and spark brought the great serpent rings to my fallen daughter.
And thanks her for bringing the serpent rings home.
Feel you deserve something different than what this life gives you. Your support, Anna. The two of you have been called to greatness. With strength. We can help you want.
And basically gives him this, it says, like, you know, we're here to serve the you know, the people, and this is what the wheel has given you, and it's
What any of us
you know, basically you need to decide whether or not you're gonna raise the challenge or not. So Moraine gets brought before Swan, and she is forced.
from this town, you will swear fealty to the judgment of this seat.
She's used the oath rod,
Weapon break.
which basically to be banished.
Rebirth. Daughter of the river.
And
Never
You know, she changes a little bit. She says some, you know, thing basically that her father used to say to Swan. So clearly we know, you know, that their relationship, this shows us their relationship has gone on for many, many years. That's how close they are, that Swan has told Moraine what her father used to say to her when she was young. It implies a level of intimacy that they're, as they're doing the oath rod, you can see that they're touching fingers.
And darkness consumes.
And Moraine changes it. It's like basically, you know, I won't return until she calls me back. So, not until Swan calls her back. Not the Aes Sedai or Ammo Seat, but the Aes Sedai. So they force Moraine to be banished from the tower. We see that basically all the sisters turn from her and show her the back. Frankly, I think it's a little bit harsh for what she did. I'm not saying it. So, Moraine leaves, but you see that she intends, basically goes to the Waygate. She's there. Loyal arrives, bringing Perrin and Egwene. And then here comes Lan with the rest of them. Now, this, of course, is the first time that they have all been together again. Rand sees Egwene immediately get off their horse and hug and kiss.
There will be time for every story as we travel.
They kind of share little moments. They let the horses go. Now,
And I told them of the enemy.
Ways and stories, but none of us know what they are. Ancient prophecies.
And what's that?
We will finish the job we started in your... But now I know you, and he is still weak.
The whole world
Will turn to...
Let me speak.
so they have this
clearly.
nice little thing here because
Because I can't trust
You don't know who the dragon is.
she basically says she doesn't know who the dragon is, and this is a nice little part here because she says,
When we left the two
she's like,
rivers,
when we left the rivers, I told you because I couldn't trust you. But now that I know you, and
Let me speak clearly.
and she can't say, now I know you, so now I can
If we
trust you
turn back
because
here,
she can't lie.
if
Her
we do
parents
not
won't let her
seek
lie.
the dark one,
So she really still doesn't
the
trust
whole
them.
world will turn to dark. The
Um,
village is nuts.
the places and people you know.
And basically tells them that they need to go through the waves to the eye of the world, but she still doesn't tell them.
We cannot know for certain until that moment comes. What about whoever's not the dragon?
And
What happens to them?
basically, you know, like Wayne even asked, you know, what's going to happen to the people that are not going to be the dragon, and Moraine still doesn't tell him. She says, like, we can't know for certain, but, you know, she knows as an idea. Now, we know from the added footage, the additional footage, that the ways can be opened differently, because we do see a part where Padan Fang exits the ways with the leaf of Avisadora. So we know that also works to open the ways. I think that would have just been better if they just stuck with the one way to do it instead of just using the one power. So she opens the ways and
Beyond our control.
They has them come in. Now everybody goes into the ways,
Like the torches.
and obviously the ways start to close, and we realize that Matt hasn't got it in there yet. Now, now this is obviously the part because we know that Matt left after this. The actor that played Matt, he did not return. So Matt doesn't go into the ways. It was clear part where they needed to cut him from the show, so they decided to do it here. I have to excuse this. I mean, obviously it's messed up for a lot of reasons. I mean, I get that Matt really doesn't do anything at the Eye of the World in the books, but they don't even do anything really similar to the books in the final episode. So they could have, well, I think they did. They had stuff for Matt to do in the last 2 episodes, but because he was not, he didn't come back, they really couldn't do it. So they had to cut him out somewhere, and this was as good a place as any, to get them separated. So like I said, I have to forgive him for this. They really didn't have a choice. What were they gonna do? He didn't come back. He's done. It's a shame. He's a good actor. He really played a good Matt. He will be missed. Hopefully that Donald Finn will be able to fit in really good and do a good job playing Matt. I guess we'll see in season 2. But anyways, that is essentially the end of episode 6, The Flame of Tar-Valon. We are now in the waves, and that will lead into the next episode, which I believe is called The Darkness Within the Waves. As I said, one thing I think that there will definitely change from the books, and what the changes in this episode kind of reflect, is I believe that we will see a convergence between Moraine and Swan later in the series, where we do not get that in the books. And nowhere in the books do Swan and Moraine, I think, as memory serves me. I did just go listen to the books a few months ago. Obviously, they're very expansive, and there's lots of stuff that I forget. But I'm almost positive that Moraine and Swan never interact again in the books. I'm almost 100% sure of that. But I think that they're going to in the series. That is, of course, the series continues past 2nd and 3rd season. So obviously in 3rd season, Moraine will try to kill Lanfear and go through the doorway. I'm guessing that's probably going to end at end of season 3. Leave that at a cliffhanger. Moraine will climb through or knock Lanfear through. Doorway will melt, and we'll be left with that. So, all in all, good episode. A lot of it obviously had no correlation with the books. None of the Two Rivers folk really entered Tar-Valon at this point. Some of the different changes, obviously, once Egwene and Nynaeve were in the White Tower, there's no way that they would have been allowed to leave. They're too powerful in the One Power. They would have made them novices and not let them leave. They would have had to escape in a completely different way. So I don't know. Like I said, the changes are okay, but if you know the series well enough, they don't jive with what we know of the White Tower. But like I said, it's fine. It wasn't huge changes. It didn't make enough to, make or break the episode. It was a good episode. Moraine obviously did really well. I said the removing of the taint of the dagger from Matt visually was really cool. I think I would have liked to have seen more of that that interaction between Moraine and Matt. When he is tainted in a way. But obviously there's time issues, so I get that. But like I said, all in all, good episode. So that's my spoiler review for episode 6, The Flame of Tar-Valon. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe, make a comment down below. Tell me what you thought of the episode. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Give me your thoughts. Tell me which episode is your favorite. I'd like to hear, and why. And what maybe you're looking forward to in season 2. I'd love to hear your comments on that. But basically, like I said, that's the episode. So I will catch you next week when I will be doing the episode 7, The Darkness Within the Waves, I believe it's called. And then 2 weeks from then, we'll do the final episode, which, as I think everybody who watched the series can agree, not its finest. So we will have lots to discuss there, and then we will also be discussing predictions for season 2. And until then, I will catch you later.